Ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward, our next speaker for the day is Mr. Nagasai Arun, along with Nihal Kashinath. Ladies and gentlemen, in what could be a major boost to the Internet of Things ecosystem in Bangalore, a first of its kind, the IoT Lab was launched on April 2009 on the occasion of IoT Day. The laboratory is an initiative of Bangalore Alpha Lab, a co-working space based out of JP Nagar and the IoT enthusiast community called the IoT Bangalore. The IoT Lab is a unique collaborative workspace where IoT enthusiasts can meet to discuss ideas, share expertise, work together on projects, get access to a library of equipment and components, build products, launch companies, and generally have fun bringing IoT to life. The lab is being bootstrapped and equipped, as well as expertise is being crowdsourced. Ladies and gentlemen, they will be speaking about the topic, the key ingredients of for IoT success, collaboration and co-creation. So please put your hands up and welcome Mr. Nagasai Arun along with Nihal Kashinath.
No, we have no, we have one.
Hi. Hello. Am I audible back there? Okay. Okay, great. Hi. So I'm Nihal Kashinath. This is Nagasai. We're from IoT Bangalore, which is just an open community for people interested in the Internet of Things. What we do essentially is, evangelize IoT, get more people to build IoT products, get more people to learn about IoT, those kind of things, right? First of all, I would like to thank Geet. Geet was kind enough to give us some CC3200 launchpads, which we have got in the lab. We've been working on some projects. Those are really good. And for those of you who want to kind of try it out, feel free to come over to the lab sometime. We're also going to be conducting a workshop on it sometime soon, so stay tuned for that. Just give me 2 minutes while I switch on the shirt. So this shirt is actually a prototype that we're working on. It's a fun project. It's just a bunch of us, Rajiv, Rohit, Nagasai, myself, and of course some people also contributed. Rishi from Technigrity contributed to the 3D print design for it. We were just having a little bit of fun with this shirt. What we wanted to do was create a programmable t-shirt, right? So something that which we can kind of, it has a couple of buttons, it has a couple of inputs. So what we want to do is make sure that this shirt, once it's been stitched, it can be reprogrammed, right? So, of course, given that this was, we're doing a bit of a talk, we said, why don't we control the PPT through this particular t-shirt, right? So we just had to have a little bit of fun with, when the projects are interesting, there's a lot of potential of what we can do. Right now what we're doing is just having a little bit of fun. So a little bit about our IoT Bangalore community itself. We are on meetup.com and on Facebook and also on Twitter. So if you guys want to kind of learn a little bit more about IoT or spend some time building some projects like this, feel free to just come over to the lab, come over to the online forums and we can discuss a bit. Okay. By the way, so there's a community meetup happening here tomorrow at 4:30. So those of you who are around, feel free to just drop by. What we will be doing in this community is actually taking apart this shirt and a whole bunch of other projects. There are about 4 to 5 projects that are going on right now. So we'll take it apart and then we'll take a look at the internals, see what is happening, discuss about what are some of the challenges that we faced while building it, those kind of things. Okay, so getting to the topic itself, why collaborate on IoT, right? So IoT is, at this stage, right, it's also new and there's so many different aspects to it, right? So if you're looking at just the tech part of it, for a single IoT product, you tend to have some sort of sensors, you'll have some radios, one or more radios, you'll have a processor or a controller, you will have power management to take care of, all of those things, and that's only on the technology part. Then if you look at what do you do with all of that data that comes out of it, right? You need to kind of send it up to a cloud somewhere or a fog. You need to kind of store it in a nice, secure way. You need to ensure that you're doing good analytics on that to be able to pull up information, all of those things. If you have done that part and if you actually have a product which you can take to the market, then there's some more challenges there because now you need to start thinking about the business side of it, right? Where do you source your components from? Now you need to manufacture these things. Do you do it here? Do you do it in another country? Do you do it as a combination of the two? What happens if people they just like your idea, they steal it, so to speak? And then of course distribution. You have the product ready, you have manufactured it. How do you ship it worldwide? It's not as easy as just uploading an app on an app store. And then financing. All of this costs money, right? So how do you manage those things? And even if you've done all of this, you've got a product. That product has to actually look good, right? It has to be intuitive. The user interface must be simple. It must work out of the box. So there's so many challenges that come up for one single product, right? So it becomes very difficult for one person to be an expert in all of these. Hence, clearly there's a need for collaboration in IoT. Like, of course, collaboration in any field is obviously helpful because you're getting multiple input from different people. But especially in IoT at this stage, where there's not too many ideas, there's not so much knowledge about IoT, it becomes very important to get those multiple inputs. So that's what we are kind of doing with IoT Bangalore. To make sure that people find one another, make sure that people find the expertise or the help that they're looking for. Co-creation. So by co-creation, what we are talking about is creating a product or even a project by taking your user input right from the beginning, co-creating it with your end users. Now these are the guys, by definition, you're building the product for them. They're the ones who are going to use it. How do you make sure that you've pretty much got all the requirements in place or most of the requirements in place? How do you ensure that you've thought through their use case, in what situation they'll be using it, how they plan to deploy it? The easiest way is to actually just ask it, right? When you start asking them, this seems like a very obvious thing, and I'm sure all of you are thinking that, yeah, we'll obviously ask users if we're building a product, but more often than not, we've seen that really smart guys also, they tend not to ask the user until it's too late. And we've heard all sorts of excuses for the people say that, oh, but the user does not know, right? This is so new that he does not know what it is, or he does not know what he wants. There are also some people who say that, what if people steal my idea? All of those things. But the reality is actually very far from that, right? If you ask 5 people, yes, maybe 5 people will not know. If you ask 500 people, there will be at least a few people there who have a clear idea of how they want to use this product. And that insight might be very useful for you, right? Similarly, for people who are, if they're afraid that someone's going to steal your idea, really don't be afraid, because one, the market is, the market can be so large that right now market share is not a problem at all for anyone. If we decide to build this t-shirt commercially, and if other people also do the same thing, we're more than happy, because then the marketing cost is split across both of us. We don't have to build a market all by ourselves, right? So we're more than happy if somebody else comes in and says that they want to make something like this. Additionally, if we do find that people are interested in making this, we invite you to actually come and join us, because it's very difficult to find people who get excited about your idea and who say that, even I want to do this. So if that is the case, like if you saw on the previous slide, there's more than enough, there are more than enough people who are actually got expertise in very few areas. So we can always bring them all together and build a much better product. Second thing is the MVP method, right? The minimum viable product. So minimum viable product is a concept that has worked very well for software. They say that just build just the minimum functionality that you require, release it into the market, and then see what happens. People will give you feedback. People will give you the insights that you require. That's great for software, not so much for hardware, because obviously you have to build that entire thing. There's a cost to creating that particular product, releasing it to the market. You'll have to, especially if you're talking about IoT, there's definitely some kind of a radio involved. So that means you're looking at certifications, you're looking at a lot of testing. Now each of these things makes it very expensive, makes it very long. So you cannot release a product and then recall the product, make some changes, release another product, those kind of things. The alternative to that, because you still need that user input, is to co-create. Just start asking people well in advance, keep showing them about, this is what we're building, this is how it's going to be, these will be the features, this is going to be the price, all of those kind of things. And that's the third point. Business models for IoT are still so unclear now. Now you don't know what would be okay with your user. Are they okay with buying your hardware? Some of them would be okay with that. But many of them might not want to buy it. But they say that if you're willing to rent it, then I might be paying a rental fee for it. Or sometimes maybe you can charge for the software, which goes on top of that, subscription model, right? But you won't know until you've actually put it in front of the user and start to figure out what it is. Now, if you wait until your product is ready, once again, that might become a little bit too late. So there's clearly a need for co-creation, especially in IoT. These are some examples of what has happened in the world with co-creation and collaboration. Right? So the first one is Misfit Shine. They had a very successful Indiegogo campaign. What happened was, so initially they had only that clasp. It was a good design where you can pretty much clasp, using the clasp, you can clip it onto any, any piece of clothing that you wanted. And they thought that this would be like, a great looking design, very intuitive, user friendly. But when they went for their Indigo campaign, for 2 months it was exposed to the world, and people were giving their feedback. And the feedback was that people wanted to wear it as a watch, as a necklace. And Indigo, Mr. Chan guys was saying that, no, but the clasp is so nice and it's so user friendly. But people said, no, but this is what we want. So, okay. So with Mr. Chen, they decided that they essentially want to go ahead and create a system where all of these other formats also can be worn. So they created the strap. They created like a necklace kind of a thing where you could fit that Mr. Chen. So that is in terms of while creating the product, they went the co-creation method. Now Quirky takes things to a completely different level. So Quirky is a company that does not just IoT products, but they do have some very good IoT things here. What they do was, right from the start, they will ask the users for ideas, what product should we build? And then people give ideas, other people, the audience basically upvotes or downvotes those ideas. And once the idea is there, they go back to the user for everything. They ask about the design, they say, should we make it like this or should we make it like that? Should we make it in red color, should we make it in blue color, or should we make it in white? They ask about pricing, they ask about, even if they're stuck with some technology issues, they ask about those. So they get a lot of input from the users and build up their entire product basically. They've got a whole bunch of products. Once the product has been validated, once the features have been figured out, it makes it very easy for them to sell it later, right? So that's what happens. The other group, and this is a different type of collaboration. So this is the group behind citizanair.io, right? What they do is they collaborate with the entire world essentially to capture air pollution data, right? So all of that information is being streamed from individual boxes that might be on your rooftop, might be in a nearby park, might be near an industrial area. But they're capturing all of that information and putting it up on a kind of an open map for everybody to see. So that is a collaboration of a different kind. And finally, what we're doing right now, this is co-creation. So we're actually putting this out there for you all to see, and anybody who's interested in this, anybody who's got some ideas, anybody who has some thoughts about what they should do, what they shouldn't do, more than welcome to come and give us some feedback. And of course, who should do this? All of us, pretty much everybody, right? So individuals. How many people here know Android programming? Show of hands. Okay. So how many people know electronics but not so much Android programming? Wow, nice. So if we do this at some of the Android groups, we see the reverse. A lot of people who know Android, but not so many people who know electronics, right? But what you guys should do is you should collaborate, because Android programming is something that people would essentially need. We need to get this kind of a device talking to some mobile device. Electronics is something that you definitely need if you're looking at an IoT device. So just start talking and then start making connections happen. Similarly with groups, even if you have a group that has already kind of got the necessary skills, work with other groups that are also working on similar problems. They might have already solved something, they might have come up with a new way of doing things which would be of interest to you. The companies as well, right? So companies, yes, it's a little bit more complex because now you're talking about intellectual property and all of those things, but it's still possible to do a whole lot of co-creation just the way Quirky does. And organizations of all sorts, even with community like ours. So with IoT Bangalore, what we're doing is we're seeing that a lot of people want to, a lot of us want to release release products for the US market, or maybe the European market. But how do we get feedback? How do we ensure that whatever ideas that we've got are actually valid, and that someone who's sitting there is going to give us that feedback? One thing that we're doing is we're now tying up with IoT New York and IoT London, and we'll have pitch sessions where we will pitch our ideas and we'll get some feedback from the community there to figure out, okay, does this work for our market, or have you missed this point, or if you add this one feature, it would make things a lot better. So we're trying to do those kinds of things, right? And of course, cities and countries, because now we're looking at our entire smart cities initiative, and different cities have already cracked it. Barcelona is doing a whole lot of stuff. So why not take some of the technology from there, adapt it to our requirements, and make sure that we're able to move it forward, right? So collaboration and co-creation is important for everyone in IoT, whether you're whether you're a startup, whether you're an individual or a hobbyist, or whether you're a big company, make use of collaboration, make use of co-creation. So I'll hand off to Naga now to talk about how exactly you go through creating an IoT product and where you can collaborate.
Yep. Hi, everyone. So the typical phases in IoT productization is ideation, prototyping, and production. So what any hardware developer, hardware entrepreneur or product maker by now would have known that the three important factors are product, quality, cost, and schedule. And usually they are double the cost, double the schedule, and same the quality. So how do we strengthen this hardware ecosystem when there is no ecosystem available in the Bangalore or in India? So we need to come together and work together and share the tacit knowledge that's available among us. Right now, if you look at the software ecosystem, there's already enough tacit knowledge among us, but hardware we're not sharing enough, and this is the right moment we need to do that. If you look at ideation, we make quick mock-ups with different prototyping boards like Arduino, Raspberry Pi, and different boards, but they are not actual prototypes. An actual prototype is one if you can make 100,000 boards and then get back to it and design such a way that we can make 100,000 boards and make first 100. That's where we make real prototypes. So to make ideation and initial customer validation, we need to form teams, and we need to buy a lot of testing equipment, we need to buy a lot of boards and all. Where do we get all these things? So a lot of hackerspace are being formed. One of these is formed by Bangalore Alpha Labs. We have a small hackerspace in JP Nagar. Feel free to come over there and do your all testing, and a couple of others are coming up as well. And we have a couple of online forums. One is IoT India forum on Google Groups, which is initiated by Thai IoT Special Interest Group. And we have a Facebook group, which is IoT Bangalore. And we keep organizing meetups, hackathons, workshops, conferences, etc. Looking at the prototyping, how do we do? So first thing we need to do is is the board or device manufacturable? That is when we call it as prototype, and we need to share the tacit knowledge, right? As I told before. We need to share the purchasing things. So if you're making a PCB board, so can two different startups come together and make it a single PCB panel so that they can share the NRE cost? And the saving of NRE cost for one startup will be anywhere between 20,000 to 1 lakh if you share the PCB panel itself. And also interoperable. If you're using connected, nowadays we are hearing of a lot of connected cars. And with the help of connected cars, we can actually remove all the signal lights, right? But are these cars talking to each other? How do you make it talk to each other? We need proper standards which are talking to each other, and we need to talk to ourselves, talk among ourselves, what standards we're using, what are the existing things. And also the important factor is how do you bring the cost, right? Bring the cost down, right? So one is shared design modules. Can we using a Wi-Fi module, like the one Geet was talking before, CC3200? Can we use this power modules similar among different startups? With that, we can actually decrease the engineering cost. We can decrease the production cost as well. And also different security modules and most of our things work on unlicensed spectrum nowadays in IoT. So can we use the similar connectivity modules? Can we talk among different entrepreneurs among us and reuse them? So when it comes to production and scale, manufacturability and financing are very important. So where are these venues coming up? So IESA, as Mr. Vidyashankar has talked before, IESA is starting, with the help of Thai IoT SIG, we are starting different blueprints on DFM, interoperability and testing, and access to experts as well. And Bangalore Alpha Labs itself is planning to start IoT hardware support system. And one point is after prototyping is done, very less in his hands. We need to partner with factories. The actual work after initial prototype happens in the factories. So we need the collaboration among us and the factories to be strengthened. We are asking different partners to come together and create one ecosystem. So as a case study, we are doing a couple of projects. One, obviously, the one you're seeing here, the smart shirt. The other, we are going on with this plant monitoring system. We started with 5 volunteers. We have posted a Facebook post asking for soil and air quality monitoring, and we got multiple applications, and we selected 5 of them, which are in multiple different skills levels, either on electronics or Arduino or Android. things. And then we started the initial mock-up with Arun on Raspberry Pi. Then we have finished it in 1 or 2 weeks, everything, the basic prototype, and then we thought, what are the design considerations? Well, how do we control and monitor from anywhere? What are the low power considerations, and how do we do the casings? So then we went back to the drawing room and we started with actual prototyping platforms. So we have two things. We have CC300 for Wi-Fi because most of the homes have Wi-Fi in their things. So even though it's not exactly low power, but we need, because it reduced the cost for gateway. And also we use ThinkSquare, which is being acquired with the help of community itself. We won a competition because of the help from the community. Then we are making two different prototypes. One is on Wi-Fi, other is open protocols, which are 6LoWPAN, CoAP, and etc. So we have done one more case study, which is ThinkHack, which is an IoT healthcare hackathon. We took help of different corporates and different cloud vendor providers like everything and carriers who are online both the days to give support to the hackathon participants. And as a testing platform, we announced a collaboration challenge. In this challenge, one team came up with a remote patient monitoring system, the other team came up with evaluation. So at the end of the competition, both of them combined together and made one robust system. And for this thing, the equipment is crowdsourced and provided by companies like TA and cloud platforms are provided by carriers and etc. Yep. Thanks, and let's make it in India.
So how much time do we have? I think we have enough time for a couple of questions. Apart from that, of course, I just want to leave you guys with a note that we are doing our meetup tomorrow evening, so feel free to come by and take a look at the projects. Any questions? Okay, thank you.